Welcome to Pacific Indians Chatter. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm your host, Cody Kelly, and this is our Hall of Fame edition. We will discuss all of the inductees heading into the PHS Hall of Fame on Friday at homecoming. But first, before we get there, let's go to the Riverbend Roundup. This week, the 7th and 8th grade football teams traveled to Union on Thursday night. The 7th grade lost a very close competitive game to the Wildcats, and the 8th graders came out on top. They look to finish up their season at Owensville next week. On to the cross-country side of things. Cross-country had a meet at Orchard Farms this week. On the boys' side of things, the boys placed 9th. Landon Harrison, 9th place overall. Benjamin Ganter, 37th place. Charlie Christian, 46th place. And for the girls finished in 5th place with Brooklyn Godfrey at 8th place. Macy Crecilius in 10th place. Kylie Vaughn in 14th place. The Indians have another meet or two left as they go down the stretch, another at Owensville next week on Tuesday. Now let's move over to the girls basketball side of things. Girls basketball hosted Sullivan on Monday night. The 7th graders dropped a very competitive game to the Eagles, led for most of the night. Unfortunately came out just a little bit short. On the 8th grade side of things, the Indians came out with a 24-16 win over the Sullivan Eagles. Leading the way for the Indians that night, Emma Vonderay had 13 points for the Lady Indians, and Sam Hernandez chipped in with 5. The next night, the 7th and 8th grade went to New Haven to take on the Shamrocks. In that game, the 7th grade came out with a big win, 34-12, over the 7th grade New Haven team. On the 8th grade side of things, also I believe Carly Winger had 26 points for the Indians in that game for the 7th grade. On to the 8th grade side of things, the Indians came out with a 38-6 victory over New Haven. Leading the way for the Lady Indians in that one was Emma Vonderay with 16 points. Maddie Brown had 8 for the Indians as well. On Thursday night, Owensville came to town, and the 7th graders lost that game 37-30 in a very high-scoring affair. Carly Wingler, I believe, had 24 that night for the Indians. The 8th grade side of things, the 8th graders dropped a tough contest, 26-16. As that game took place, Owensville came in at 7-2, and Pacific came in at 7-2, and the Indians had beat Owensville in the previous week in a tournament in double overtime, but unfortunately came up on the short side of this one. The middle school girls will be in tournaments this next week, St. James for the 7th grade and Owensville for the 8th grade girls. Good luck there. Now, let's throw it up to 425 Indian Warpath Drive, and let's jump right into some Friday Night Lights. The Indians traveled to Potosi and played a very, very tough ball game, 27-20. The Indians came up on the wrong side of things in this one. It was a very tight game, back and forth, a late touchdown by Potosi, and that ended it for the Indians. But on the stats side of things, Brock McKinney, 19 carries, 122 yards for the Indians. Colton Kasuth with 2 carries for 24 yards. Seth Stack was 14 for 22 in the air for 137 yards. And Gavin Haddox led the Indian receiving corps with 5 catches for 58 yards. This game drops the Indians to 1-6 on the season. Let's check the district standings. I believe the Indians still sit in 5th place point-wise. So as of things standing right now, they are 9 points behind Union for a home game, and that would put them seeing Union in the first round of districts. Looking at the map, though, the Indians still have a pretty good chance to, if they could win out, to jump up into even maybe into the 3 seed realm. Kind of depends on what Union and Westminster does. But the Indians still have an opportunity to host if they play good football over the next 2 games. Currently, Sullivan sits at top of the district with the opportunity for the bye. Moving on to soccer. The Indians had a rougher week for them this year. They dropped 2 of 3. They picked up a big win over North County at North County on Monday night, 3-0. in that one for the Indians. Scoring leaders for the Indians on the night was Aiden Downey had 2 goals, and Lucas Tennyson chipped in with the other goal. Gage Clark had 2 assists as well. Then they traveled to Sullivan the next night in what would be a conference test. Still haven't been able to find out if there actually is a conference championship given out because of the lack of teams. But the Indians played Sullivan for the second time this year and came up with a 3-2 loss in this one. Goal scorers for the Indians was Braden Stevens with 1, Lucas Tennyson with 1, and that was it for the Indians. Gage Clark had the assist. So then the Indians were back at home against a very good Borgia team on Thursday night, a team that in the past couple of years they've had trouble with its state championship and a third-place finish the last 2 years for the Borgia Knights. The Indians played a really tight game in this one. We're down 1-0 late before the Borgia Knights tacked on a second goal to kind of finally finish it off. But definitely some growth and, just kind of hanging with a very good team. Gets them ready for districts. As we look into their district side of things, let's go through where they kind of sit now. We have not got seeds yet. Districts will not start until the first week of November for soccer. But just looking at pure wins, the Indians are 12-3. That has the best winning percentage and the most wins. Rockwood sits at 8-4. But Rockwood's a very, very good team. They see a lot of really big schools. They're currently ranked number 2, I believe, in Class 3. So just kind of looking at it, you could see the Indians are maybe set up for the 2 seed, have a case to maybe for the 1. Be interesting to see how that goes. That district will be hosted at Webster Groves, and we will find seeds out on that probably in the next week or so. However, on to the volleyball side of things, we do have some seeds to go through. But let's go through what they did this week. The Indians had the big conference, the unofficial conference championship game this week against Sullivan, where the Lady Indians came up on the short side of things, 3-1, and that 4 sets were played. So Sullivan now takes control of their own destiny as regards to the conference. The Lady Indians bounced back the 2 nights later at New Haven with the 3-0 set victory on that end. The JV also picked up a win over New Haven, and so did the C team as well. So the Indians now look forward to their last regular season week. They will have St. James at home on Tuesday. We'll make a trip to St. Clair. And then when it comes to districts, they have to make some travel arrangements because the Indians go to Camdenton for their district. They are the 4 seed and draw Lebanon in the first round. They will play that game on Tuesday at 6:15. So that's a good little drive. They're going to have to make that trip, leave early, get down there, play that game. Hopefully the Indians advance. And then on Thursday night, they will have to go back again to Camdenton for a 5 p.m. start. Marshfield currently sits as the 1 seed. If you look around this and you see some teams that we have played that are in this district and stuff, the Indians have a very good chance to play with all of these teams and give themselves a run. Unfortunately, you kind of have to wonder, how is the travel going to affect you? 3 hours on a bus just to get to a game is a long time to play one and then immediately come right back after the game is over. Now let's move over to cross country. Cross country's district will be hosted at Nixa High School. So again, talking about another long trip to make for a district event all the way down to Nixa for the cross country team. The cross country team competed this week at the Orchard Farms Invitational. Sarah Halcomb came in 6th and Saria Rosales came in 19th, medaling for the JV girls at the Orchard Farms Invitational. The varsity girls were also led with a strong performance from Aiden Lawler, who finished 14th. The girls finished 4th out of 10 teams. Aiden Lawler was 14th, Maddie Rush 30th, Dixie Mayfield 32nd, Grace Dreyer 36th. The boys' side of things at Orchard Farms, Ben Smith came in 2nd, and Dax Harrison 6th, and Lucas Godfrey 17th, all receiving medals for the Indians. The Indians continue their season next week and look to finish strong as we head towards districts on that side of things. Also, this was a week ago, but I did not get it in last week. Cheerleaders picked up a championship at regionals. I believe that's the first time in a good amount of years. I checked without the Checkhauser on where that was at, but I know that it had been a while since they had done that, so congratulations to the big regional win. Now we move into softball. Softball season is winding down as their districts will be this upcoming week. But let's see what they did this week. Let's cover this week. On Monday, they had Lynn come to town. The Indians dropped this one 8-1 to Lynn. Leading the way for the Indians offensively on the night, McKenna Lay had 2 hits. Kayla Swinford with 2 hits. Mila Miller pitched this game 7 innings, 12 hits, 8 runs, 4 earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. The Wednesday night, Oakville came to town. Oakville being a pretty solid team. I know they have one really good arm. Ayla Shapinski led the way for the Indians offensively, 2 for 4. Ellie Groom was also 2 for 3, and McKenna Lay 2 for 4 for the Indians on the night. Avery Thomas and Carissa Reese and Ashlyn Young chipped in with 1 hit apiece. Ayla Shapinski took the mound, went all 7 innings, 9 hits, 7 runs, 3 earned, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. It appears 5 errors really hurt the Indians in this one. You know, in softball, baseball, when you give teams extra outs, sometimes it's hard to win. But then the Indians looked to bounce back Thursday night, making a trip to Valley Park. In this one, Kayla Swinford was 4 for 4 for the Indians at the plate. Ellie Groom had a hit. McKenna Lay was 2 for 3. Ashton Young, Mila Miller, and Krista Reese also with a hit. And Avery Meyer 2 for 3 for the Indians. On the mound, Mila Miller went 6 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs, 6 earned, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. That will drop the Indians to 6-18 on the season. And they have Rockwood, Summit, and Afton next week before they get into districts, which we will talk about in just 1 second. On to the JV side of things. The JV girls dropped a contest to Lynn on Monday night, 6-0. And on Wednesday, they had Oakville. They lost a very, very tight game, 8-7. Leading the way for the Indians offensively, Milo Miller was 2 for 2. Scarlett White had a hit. Reagan Kennedy with a hit, and Gwen Chastain with a hit, and Clara Welker with a hit for the Indians. Kayla Swinford took the mound for the Indians 4 2/3, 3 hits, 8 runs, 6 earned, and 3 strikeouts. Now, let's talk about their districts. Districts came out, I believe it was Thursday or Friday that it came out. The Indians drew the 6 seed, 7 teams in this district. The 1 seed went to St. Dominic, the 2 seed went to Borgia, and the Indians draw the 3 seed Washington Blue Jays at Washington. The Indians will play on Thursday night at 4 p.m. against the Washington Blue Jays. They have played Washington a couple times this year, and they have played well in spurts against them. So I look for the Indians to give Washington a very good ball game that night and hopefully continue their season into Saturday. So if you're looking to catch some softball action, the Indians are on the road this week at Rockwood Summit and Afton, and then make a trip to Washington for their districts. Now let's jump over into the Hall of Fame. Pacific High School Hall of Fame has officially been announced, and they will induct these members into the Hall of Fame on Friday at a ceremony. They will also take part in the parade, which we will go over a little bit too. That will be on Friday, and they will be honored at the football game Friday night. Starting with Rob Shimza. Coach Shimza is going into the Hall of Fame this year. He served as the head wrestling coach for 17 seasons, winning 9 conference championships, a district title, 5 top 10 state finishes, a 4th place finish, 78 state qualifiers, 31 medalists, 10 finalists. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on. He did a great job. He is currently the boys and girls head golf coach, and as wrestling goes, he still is a official for wrestling now. So congratulations to Coach Shimza for going in. He was a 3-sport athlete at Pacific High School. He's also one of my PE coaches, and I have the great pleasure of working with him now. Congratulations to Coach Shimza on your induction into the Pacific High School Hall of Fame. Kirk Lucan is our next nominee or next inductee. Coach Lucan was a coach and teacher at Merrimack Valley for numerous years. He was the Wrestling Little League director at the start of that program, which definitely helped grow the program to where it is. Served as our head wrestling coach from 95 to 98. Was an assistant from 77 to 94 and 98 to 2008. He was the Wrestling Officials Assistant Coach of the Year in 1999. Also served as an assistant football coach and the Special Olympics District Manager for 25 years. Coach Lucan had helped build wrestling program to what it is today with the start of the Little League and running it for numerous amount of years. Congratulations to Coach Lucan on his induction into the PHS Hall of Fame. Next is Austin Rep, wrestler, Pacific High School. Career record 203-15. It's a very impressive record. 4-time wrestling state qualifier, state champion in 2013 and 2014. Also a third place finish in 2012. He is the Pacific High School record holder, and hang on with me here, we got a couple of these to read. Career pins, 155. Career team points, 1,265. Career wins, 203. Season pins, 48. Season team points, 391. And season wins, 58. He is the Missouri record holder for career and season pins. He was a collegiate wrestler at Northern Illinois University, and he is a assistant wrestling coach at Pacific High School now. Austin Rep was one of our youngest members to go in the 2 years that we have done this. And congratulations to him. It's well deserved. And now let's move over to Mr. Larry Carter as our next inductee. Mr. Carter, many of you know, was a longtime principal in the Merrimack Valley School District at the middle school as the assistant. Coleman, he was the head principal at Coleman. He's also won Pacific Citizen of the Year Award. And he is known as the voice of the Indians. We had him on previously in our first season to just kind of discuss this thing. If you go to a sporting event and you hear somebody on the PA, it's about a 99.9% chance it is Mr. Carter himself doing it. He does every basketball game, football, volleyball, baseball, anything. And if you ask him for anything, he will gladly lend his voice to help that. Mr. Carter was one of my principals way back in the day. And I greatly appreciate everything that he had done for me throughout my time at Merrimack Valley. And congratulations on a well-deserved induction into the PHS Hall of Fame. On to our fifth and final inductee this year, Mr. Randy George. Mr. George served as our superintendent for 9 years, assistant superintendent for 3 years. He was a Pacific High School assistant principal for 4 years, Robertsville Elementary principal for 2 years, my principal at Zitzman, he served as that role at 8 years. He also was a special education teacher at Pacific High School. He served in numerous ways. He was Pacific Eagles member, director of the board, the Pacific Area Chamber of Commerce. He was sports club president, very active in the community. I mean, we could read these accolades, but that doesn't even come close to touching on everything that Mr. George meant for Merrimack Valley. Said he was my principal at Zitzman, somebody that I've known my whole life, and enjoy talking to him and going over certain things about teaching, education, coaching. Just kind of fun to have a conversation with him. Always had his door open to everybody at any time. So I would say this is a very well-deserved induction into the PHS Hall of Fame for Mr. Randy George. Congratulations to the George family. Now that we've caught up on all the PHS Hall of Famers for this year, I would just like to let everybody know that the nomination process is now open for next year. The forms can be found on Merrimack Valley's website. Go in, fill out who you believe you think should be in the Hall of Fame. The committee will have a vote at some point in probably the summertime to nominate next year's class. This is actually a really fun process because, like it said, it's open to the public to throw out anybody they want. it's not just school employees that are deciding. You guys can all take part in this and nominate anybody that you think is deserving. I believe there's a system to it. If you nominate somebody, it's 2 years that they are talked about. If they don't get in that 2-year cycle, then they go out for 5 years before they can be talked about again. So there is a little bit of strategy when you do this to think about who you want to put up, because you got to remember that in the back of your mind as to how that works. I believe there are some other rules to it as well that are all listed on the form whenever you go to fill everything out. So again, those are to be found on Merrimack Valley's website. So please check that out and nominate anybody that you believe is worthy of induction into the PHS Hall of Fame as we look to continue to grow and expand this over the next few years. Performance of the week. I feel like my performance of the week this week, it's a performance from last week, technically, but we did not get it into the show, is I will have to give my nod to the Pacific Indians cheerleaders and their first place finish at regionals. That is a great accomplishment to all the Pacific cheerleaders, to Coach Kauser and her entire staff, all the work they put in the off season to get to this point, and congratulations on your big win. And you are my performance of the week. Before we end this week's show, let's talk about homecoming this week. Homecoming, as you know, is a busy, busy week at Pacific High School. So let's run through all the different events taking place this week at PHS. On Monday night, mind you, no school Monday. On Monday night, softball will make a trip to Rockwood Summit. Football will be at home for a JV contest versus Potosi. The middle school basketball programs will be in their respective tournaments, St. James and Owensville tournaments. On Tuesday night, cross country makes the track to Owensville for their big run there. Esports has a home meet against Poplar Bluff. Softball is on the road at Afton. Volleyball has their last home game of the year, which is also senior night, on Tuesday. St. James comes to town with a 4:30 C team start, a 5:30 JV, and then a varsity start at 6:30 scheduled. On Wednesday night, there's not a lot as far as the sports front goes because it is the Powder Puff football game. The Powder Puff football game will be Wednesday night, for those of you looking for something to do on Wednesday night. On Thursday, Esports will be at home again against Confluence Prep Academy. Softball will have their district game. Soccer is home hosting Lutheran St. Charles, JV and varsity. That will be the Soccer Boys senior night as well. And then Friday will be homecoming. The homecoming football game will be at 7 p.m. against Herman. However, on Friday, it is a half day of school, which means our parade will take place at 2:30 in the afternoon. We will have the parade. 4 p.m. is the Hall of Fame induction at the auditorium at Pacific High School, which is open to the public. So if you would like to check that out, come on up. 6 o'clock, we will start to kind of get some things rolling at the football stadium as far as some festivities and things. We will do the Hall of Fame at halftime of the football game, where they will all be honored one more time. And all this will kind of conclude on Saturday with the big homecoming dance at Pacific High School. So if you're looking for a sporting event to watch, there are several things at Pacific this week. We would love to see you out at the high school checking out these events. And again, the big football game on Friday night, homecoming against Herman. Thank you all for listening. And until next week, keep up the chatter.